Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 25 map guide. Today we're going to take a look at Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania. But before that, this video is brought to you by Doughboy2913 and Courtyard Farms. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania map. It's actually been out for quite a while, and we're going to be looking at version 1.0.0.2 hotfix. In fact, it looks like it was released on February 2nd. Now, I've got a link to this site down in the description below. It was originally found over at Forbidden Mods, but thankfully, due to a rather persistent member over at the Discord in Binks, he's found this site, which appears to be the original download source for the map. We've somewhat confirmed that the Forbidden Mod site was using his download link that is linked here, but subsequently now it's been updated with a hotfix, and the Forbidden Mods download link is different. So this should be the most current version of this particular map. Again, there is a link down in the description. You do need to join this site in order to download the map. So that's not so much the case with respect to Forbidden Mods, but you're not going to get the latest version over there, at least as of the recording of this video. Now, once again, we're going to talk about downloading, and we're going to talk about sharemods.com a bit, because that's where this map is hosted. Now, we believe here at the channel at respecting the modder, and therefore downloading the map or mods from where they are originally uploaded. I'm not a giant fan of sharemods.com, but again, respecting the modder, we've got to respect his wishes. And therefore, if you do want to play on this map, I do encourage you to use his download link here on this site, as opposed to finding this map linked in some other random site that may or may not ultimately go back to ShareMods. It may or may not be the most current version, and it may or may not have been edited or changed from the original author's intent. So we're going to, once you are a member of this site, we're going to click on download. It's going to take us to sharemods.com. We're going to have to wait our 5 seconds. And then once we do that, we're going to get a create download link. We're going to click on that. And just like we've been seeing, and I just published another video, if you're watching this fairly soon after I upload, about some issues that I believe ShareMods is going through at the current moment. If you're taken to a site other than a site that looks like this, then do not, under any circumstances, click on anything, because it's not legit. Okay? When you click on this download link, it should immediately pop you over to another ShareMods site or page, and it should say download, and then if you click on this, then it will download the map. Okay? But again, be very cautious as to what you are doing here, because we do not want you to get any sort of malware on your system. So once you get this page, counts down 5 seconds. We're going to click on this, and I was able to eventually land on a ShareMod site if I came back and clicked on that button again. And boom, we're downloading our map. As you can see here, we're going to completely ignore whatever we just got taken to. So what we did is we clicked download, we went to share mods, we waited our 5 seconds that we need to wait. We clicked on this, and we didn't get the page we wanted. So we click back, we click on it again, and again, we're going to keep doing that until we ultimately land on the page that we want, and then we're going to be able to download the map from there. Okay? I've been using ShareMods to download files since FarmSim 17. I've never really had issues like I'm having this weekend. So I feel that they've got some sketchy advertisers that they've let in. They may or may not be fully aware that they are such sketchy. So I don't expect this trend to continue here at ShareMods. But for now, just be cautious and know if you're redirected to any site other than a sharemods.com site, Don't click on anything. Go back and try again. Now this is a 4X map, and since it is not hosted over to Giants Mod Hub, it's going to be available for PC players only. Now you can see we're version 1.0.0.2 hotfix, and we can read through, I'm not going to, but you could read through what has all been changed since the initial release of this map way back in early February. But what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of skim down here and talk about some key points to know about this map. First up, there is one required mod. It is the info display extension. It is over at the main Giants Mod Hub. So if you do download this map and try to fire it up without this mod, then it will just go ahead and auto download. I use this particular mod in my mod reviews, or in my map guides. So it's pretty safe. You shouldn't have any issues with it, and it's very small in size. A few things to note on this map. At the Getreide AG, I butchered that. You can start the test stinger, which has no effect on gameplay. We'll see if we can't demonstrate that when we get over to that particular sell point. Basically, I think what this is going to do is it's going to drop a moisture probe into a trailer, your trailer, and it's going to simulate realism, but really it doesn't matter. On the main farm, you must fold down the gallows so that you can fill up the field sprayer. I'll show you that here when we get around to taking a look at the map. In all slurry pits and lagoons, the tarpaulins move visibly with the filling level. That's cool. I think that means the fill planes move as opposed to like actual tarps over it. The speed cameras on the map work, so be careful. Don't be speeding along the roads. The floor angles were increased to 32. So basically multi-terrain angle, we have been increased to 32 angles. Gates at the main farm have been fitted with rotating lights which rotate, so there's beacons on the gates as well. This map is a 4X map, and as such there are 1,026 total hectares of farmland available. And on this map you'll find a BGA with drive-in silos, cow, chicken, sheep, pigs, and horses, gas stations, workshops, a feed silo for the pig feed, farm silo, we have BGA scale, manure storage, multiple selling stations. And while this only lists 5 productions, I counted a total of 10 productions pre-placed on this map. And then we have multiple nice pictures. So let's just jump back over here to the map. As you've heard over the last couple minutes, we do have quite a bit of ambient sounds on the map. We've got a dog here at our starting farm location, and we have planes flying overhead, as well as helicopters. In fact, there's a little bit of an airport on this particular map. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map itself. This map is made up of some pretty large fields, and again, remember, this is a 4X map. So these fields are 4 times larger than you may expect them to be based on this size of a PDA. So pretty big machinery is what we're going to be looking at here on this map. We do have all the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 25. And if we toggle over to our farmlands, you're going to see we start out by owning a fair bit of kind of sell points and farm areas. Our main farm, which is going to be farmland ID 53, is only $48,844 to buy. If you do select to start without owning the starting farm, well, all of the machinery and all the buildings are pre-placed in all of these locations. We've gone ahead and loaded this map saying, yes, we do want to own the starting farmland, and therefore we have farmland ID 53. That is going to be our chicken farm. Our farmhouse is going to be located at farmland ID 61. We have a pig farm right across the street, which we own at the start, farmland ID 5, $49,000 to buy that. Farmland ID 1 is going to be our cow farm. That's going to be $243,796 to buy if we do not own it at the start. We also own Field 4 at the start, $562,828. We have another area down here, farmland ID 55. This is where our main farm silo is going to be located, $153,000 to buy that. And then we also own this area right here, which is the BGA, and it is $129,448 to buy. And that is all the land that we own at the start. Some notable things, for example, farmland ID 29 is $2.2 million to buy and 106 hectares in size. We do have our standard crop calendar available to us here on this particular map. And if we take a look at our animal area, we start out with pigs, chickens, and cows, as I've already mentioned. And it looks like our cows are set up with a whole lot of meadow grass, 5,500,000 liters. We do have contracts available on this map, and well, that's an awful lot of baling. That's 74.43 hectares, nearly $200,000 to bale some round bales. Taking a look at our productions, we own the BGA at the start. Here we can see that. And as far as viable productions, we have a carpentry, a dairy, grain mill. We have then a lime production out of sugar beets and sugar. We also have a bakery, our sawmill, seed and fertilizer. So barley liquid fertilizer is going to make seed, oat and liquid fertilizer, or wheat and liquid fertilizer to make seed, and then manure and water to make solid fertilizer. We have our spinnery, and then we have a brewery. So we're going to be able to make some strawberry beer with water, barley, and strawberries. We're going to be able to make barley beer with water and barley juice. We're going to be able to make honey beer with water, barley, and honey. And we're going to be able to make wheat beer with water and wheat. Let's come back over here to our prices area. I counted up 7 different sell points on this map. Now there's probably about 8 or 9 actual selling locations, but some of these sell points are really at the same area. There's just a specific spot for, let's say, bales and a specific spot for grain. With respect to our starting fleet, which we own across any mode if we do or do not own the starting farm, we have the Amazon UX 5201 Super Sprayer. That's going to be for liquid fertilizer and herbicide. We have the Convy Flex 1080 grain header. Then we have the Lexion 6900 harvester. And then we have our FarmTech EDK 650 trailer, Fendt 1050 Vario, Fendt 728 Vario, the Fliegel ASW 271 trailer. We have the PFW 18,000 Maxline Plus slurry tanker and applicator. We've got an International 200 pickup truck, the John Deere 3650 tractor, John Deere 8R tractor, the GX 520 forage wagon. We have the S Pro 6000 RC seeder. We have the Primor 15070M straw blower. And then we have 1, 2, and 3 power washers. We got the MKS 8 liquid tanker. In fact, we have a pair of those. We have the Massey Ferguson 9S 285 tractor, the Nardi N7040 header trailer, 4R Kloss header, the Terina 6040 cultivator. We have the Agro Pro 228 Genesis slurry tanker, the Agro SBH 436 applicator 4R slurry tanker. We've got a Volvo high tip bucket and the Volvo L180H wheel loader. With respect to hand tools, we have none of those. And while this map does say it has 25 collectibles, it actually does not. So I did go ahead and run the console command offline, showing all the collectibles. There were none that popped up here on the PDA, because when you typically run that command, you'll see a whole bunch of little dots appear on the map telling you where all the collectibles are located, but that did not happen. So I do believe that there may be a collectible file in the map itself, but those collectible locations are not defined. Now, with all of that said, and a drink here to kind of replenish my dry mouth, let's go ahead and take a look here at this starting farm area. Now, one thing you're going to notice on this map, and that's a lot of these are old buildings that harken back to older Farm Sim. And in Farm Sim 22, I would have commented and scored the map at a lower level because they weren't using new textures. And, well, that is the case with this map. And you're going to find that there's going to be lots of areas where there's some pretty low texture structures. Hopefully that won't affect your overall enjoyment of this map, but it is a little bit of a forewarning. So in here we have our vehicle workshop, and I noticed when I was over top of these pits, we got the option to left click to open and close the maintenance pit, but nothing actually happens. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. Maybe that'll get corrected in an update, maybe not. Got our dog there, a water pipe to water fill trigger, and then our chickens. So we have our food, we have our chicken drop off, and we're going to be able to do 360 chickens in this coop. We should find our eggs over here on this side of the structure. Lots of storage for machinery here at this farm. And something else to note on a lot of these farms. I was not successful on selling a lot of these buildings. It's kind of hit or miss, but mostly miss on what can and can't be sold. And we got our harvester inside of there. We have a fuel tank right here. For storing diesel. And if we make our way around this corner, so here we have our liquid fertilizer storage. You see we can put herbicide in here or liquid fertilizer. And the way this works is in order to fill our sprayer, well, we've got that nozzle. Okay, that nozzle right there. That's where the fill trigger is located. So if we pull the triggers up, there, you can see the trigger right there. So that is the trigger for filling from this particular silo. And the way we're going to move it is we're going to come over here to our control panel. We're going to left click. It's going to rotate it around. And once it's rotated around, we can then fill our sprayer that is positioned beside it. Then when we're done, we could rotate it back and then drive away. So you will not be able to fill from here until you rotate this around. And of course, you could always leave it in that position if you wanted to. Now, I'm going to just kind of walk across the street to the pig farm. And while I do that, I want to talk about the performance of this on lower end systems. So I did open this map up and run it a little bit on my lower end test system, which is using AMD integrated graphics, specifically the 7080M chipset. And I was seeing, for the most part, performance in the 40s and 50s. Now, what that equates out to, if you also use my medium settings that I do recommend for lower powered systems, well, ultimately that means is that you should see, to your eye, frames in the 80s to 100s, because I do recommend that you enable frame gen on your system if you are kind of running at a lower end system on those medium settings. So we are basically doubling our frames to our eyes, and the map plays very, very smooth when you are basically having 80 to 100 FPS rendered to your eyes, even though the game engine itself is only able to produce 40s to 50s. So we've now moved over to our pig farm area. So we were right here with the chickens, and we've moved up to this particular location. So we have our water trough for our pigs. We can do a total of 500 pigs in this facility. We have our food trough in the middle here. This is also where we're going to bring and blow our straw, no doubt. Remember what I was talking about really low textures? Yeah. I like the old aesthetic, but we don't need low quality textures to go along with that. So here we have our fill point for our... Well, this looks like it's a water collection basin as opposed to kind of slurry. I wouldn't really expect a duck to be swimming around in a load of poo. Here we have our manure heap for our pigs. And then our slurry pit for our pigs. And that's the pig farm. Let's make our way up the hill. We've got a little bit of space here where we could put additional structures down. This is going to be a pig food silo. Some more space for machinery. Now let's get a little bit of altitude here. We'll just go into fly mode. Right, we have our starting location here with our chickens, our pigs, and then we're going to fly north to basically the cow farm that we own here at the start. So let's drop back down here and come over here to the Mecklenburg dairy operation. We're set up for a whole lot of big scale farming here. We've got a lot of area. We can put additional barns down. We can put silo down here. But again, we're going to show our farm silo here in a little bit. It's a bit removed from the farms that we've already taken a look at. Multiple silage bunkers here. Our wash bays with our power washers. More water storage. More vehicle and implement storage. And you'll see these large windmills throughout the map. I did try to sell some of those on land that I owned. I was not successful in doing that. So overall, like I was saying earlier, the map is mostly fixed in that buildings and things are permanently where they are. There's a few things here and there that you can sell, but there's far more things you can't sell than what you can. More fuel storage. This is a nice little touch. So, right, we've got this water pit that we would be driving through in order to kind of clear out our tires before we make our way up to the main road. We have our buy point for our cows. 500 cows in total. For our milk trigger right beside that. We're going to come back to that here in a minute. So this is a multiple barn, cow barn. There's the cow that we picked up, and here we have the indicator for our food and straw. And that would be our water trigger for our cows, because you can see all of this is interconnected. We're going to have our manure heap for our cows located right here. And then our slurry point is going to be over here for, again, our cows. And that, for the most part, is going to be the cow farm. Additional storage buildings all through here. This is where we came in at. Right, we have this large placeable area. So a pretty big area for your cattle operation. Then we had our pig operation and our chickens. But that's not all the land we own at the start. Our farmhouse is over here. So around the corner, we're going to come to our farmhouse. Inside of here, there we have our pickup truck. I'm hearing that weather station. Oh, he's playing a game. So we don't have a trigger, but it's right here at this couch. Our sleep trigger. Ah, where is this weather station? Because it's annoying. Jeez. Oh, it's back there. I need to sell that thing. Now we've got an indicator here as if we're able to be a warehouse, but that doesn't appear to function as a warehouse. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Walter, what's going on here, man? What's going on, dude? But that's not everything we own at the start, remember? Back down the road, we have our farm silo. around this corner. And here we go. So this is our farm silo. Farmland ID 55. So we have our dump point, and we have our fill pipe for the farm silo. So this is where the description mentioned a test stinger, which I was assuming would be to test moisture. So that should be right here. So we're going to come up here, we're going to hit start sample. And then, right, that's going to theoretically sample our moisture before we go and dump into our silo. Get a little bit of altitude again. And continue our way over to the biogas plant, which we also own here at the start. The biogas plant is kind of hidden back here behind these trees. And the way we're going to get to it is through this road right here, right by the helicopter pad and the airport. Once we come into the BGA, we have two three-sided silage bunkers. These we can sell. I do know that for a fact. We can sell those. There's our wheel loader. There's our forage trailer and the BGA itself. So we have an interactive icon. We have our dump point there for our forage and manure. And we have our digestate fill point. That's our dump point for slurry. And then that would be the full collection of what we kind of own here to start. So there we've got a back way into the biogas plant. Sneaking around to right there. There we have our farm silo. We have our chicken farm, pig farm, and our cow farm. And that's all the farms that are pre-placed. We do have a horse pasture and a sheep area also pre-placed, but we do not own those at the start. So our horse pasture is over here at Farmland ID 35. So we have the BGA there. We have our airport. And then right beside the airport, we have our horse pasture. So let's go ahead and buy this. Once we have purchased it, we can come over here and activate this gate. We can buy 16 horses. We have our food straw, and right there we go. That's our horse area. And then we have sheep at Farmland ID 60. Let's go ahead and make our way kind of east across the map. See how big some of these fields really are. And let's just go ahead and check. We do have some utility lines running through fields. I haven't checked these already. They do not appear to have collisions. So we got a little bit of a residential area, and then here we have our sheep. $150 sheep in total. With our food and our wool. And that should basically be a rundown of all of the farming areas that you can buy. The 3 farm areas that we own to start, the horses and the sheep. Now we're going to make our way back up here to our starting farm location. And again, this is a 4X map, right? So getting around is going to take you a bit longer than a standard size map. And again, as you have already seen, the fields are much, much larger than a standard size map would be because, well, this is 4 times as large. So back up here to our PDA. We're going to make our way kind of down here through town. We've got a few sell points in town. We have a factory here in the spinnery, also in town. And something I wanted to circle back to over here at the cows, I got a little sidetracked on. Was the information that was published right here. Right. Water, straw, grass. So this is likely going to possibly display the contents of your cattle area. Right? It's all in German. I'm not the best at German, but most of those seem to translate to things that would be associated with a cow structure. So here we have our spinnery. There are pallet spawn point. We have our dump point, and we have our interactive trigger there. I'm a little confused again as to what that is for. That's typically the icon used to demonstrate that it's a warehouse, it's a buy point for products, but there doesn't appear to be any sort of real trigger to buy product in. Continuing to make our way around through town. We have our workshop. Fuel point. And a water fill station here at our fire station. Here we have our brewery. So we have our dump point there, our pallet spawn point. And our interactive point here at the front door. Oh, isn't it convenient? Noah's our brewer, I guess, here in Germany. Let's loop our way over here to the east. We have a bit of a dock here at the edge of the map. And over here, we do have a sell point. And we have also a couple different fill points. With a lime station, a fertilizer station, and a fuel station as well. So here we have dump points for different products: wheat, barley, sugar beet, potatoes. Over here at the dock, we have a fuel point. And then, as I mentioned, we have buy points for lime on the left and solid fertilizer on the right. Here we have our animal dealer. So we have our animal dealer trigger around the back. We have our animal dealer buy point. And then we have our purchase point to purchase slurry and to purchase manure. We continue to make our way south on the eastern side of the map here. We're going to make our way over by farmland ID 23. See the ebb and the flow of the fields here. And we've got a lot going on over in this general area. So we have a fuel point. We have two different selling areas. And we have our production for bakery. So we have our bakery there. We also then have our sugar beet and lime production to the left. So here we have the bakery point. We have our dump point, we have our interactive icon, we have our pallet spawn point. We have fuel. We have our sugar beet. Sugar factory also produces lime. So here we're going to have our fill point for our lime. We have our dump point for our sugar beets. We have our pallet spawn point. And then we have a bulk output. Probably for sugar beet cut. We have an interactive point here at our front door. Looping back around. Is this automated in some way, or do we have to? Is it always up? It's kind of neat. It'd be neat if it went up and down on its own. Here we have our dairy. So we have our dump point, our pallet point, and our interactive point there at the door. Now, I wish these were labeled. Okay, because one is seed, one is lime. The one that is on our left is going to be our seed buy point, and the one that's on the right is going to be for our lime. We also then have 2 sell points located here as well. So seed buy point, lime buy point. We have 1 sell point there. And we have another sell point here. Actually, this is... I believe these are the wrong icons, but these are... should be sell points. We don't have the dump icon. We have what's typically seen as the fill icon. Which is a little bit of confusing there, but they should be sell points based on the indicators here. And we've already taken a look at our brewery. Taking a look at our sheep area. Lime area. So what's going to make this map feel even bigger than it really is how spread out things are and needing to basically drive around a whole lot in order to get to things. So here I have slurry storage. And this appears to be, well, seed and fertilizer factory, amongst other things. So we were dump point, we were interactive icon to buy. We have dump points for our liquids, for our solids, and our output for seed and fertilizer. It's likely going to be your dump point for our manure input down here at this factory. I do have a little bit of a kind of a contractor yard here. So we have a fuel point, a couple sheds, but that's about it. To the south, it's all just big farmland, some ponds, kind of here, there, yonder. And we're back over here to kind of where we started. Kind of. This is going to be our sawmill. So interactive icon inside of there. Kind of a neat sawmill operation. There we go. So it's just south of the silo. Our dealership. I just completely missed it. So our Kloss dealership. Let's go ahead and pick up a machine. Pretty big area, 4 vehicles and everything. Nice sized gate to get out of here. And overall, the roads aren't too narrow with respect to things with collisions. So you should be able to get out of here with pretty decent sized machinery as well. Then you have your dealer trigger located right here. Actually at the dealer as well. So quite a interesting map. Lots of things are spread out rather significantly. And again, these are very, very big fields. 94 hectares, 106, 97, 83. That's just picking a few random fields that look to be some of the biggest ones on the map. Now, I'd love to know your all's thoughts down in the comments below. If you've been looking for a 4X map to play, and you've maybe wanted a European style, European feel to a 4X map, well, this might be the one for you. Now, do know to take caution again, if you are downloading from share mods, pay attention to what domain you're actually at as to if you are going to be downloading the map itself or downloading something a bit unscrupulous. This is my first time in probably 7 years of working and doing farm sim content and visiting share mods that I've really had any sort of issues whatsoever. So I wouldn't hold this necessarily against share mods as a definitive thing. But what I would caution you on is to just browse and download carefully and never rush. Take your time. And until next time, happy farming.